how to take great photos. That is a topic which can be very interesting. What someone classes as a great photo, somebody else will think, that's mediocre, I could do better than that. So it's something that you need to personally think about. What do you want to get from your photograph? So thanks for joining me on Zulf Talks Photography Podcast. Appreciate the regular listeners as well as the viewers. So what we're going to do today is look at a few interesting points around how to take great photos. This is going to be more of an opinion. Do you need the latest, greatest gear? Do you need like a really fancy camera lens? Do you need a really fancy camera light? What do you need to get the job done? Well, it's going to be something that is very simple. Practice. You'll be pleased to know the more practice you do with your existing gear, the better you will become at using it. So we're going to look at it overall and say, wait a minute, what about if I've got a standard camera gear? Lens, camera, lens. Does it work? Will it do well for me? Well, that depends how you use it. So as well as what you're taking photographs of. So for example, if you're doing portraits, a great portrait will need different tips than a great landscape photograph or product photography. We'll look at some examples today of photos that are bad and better and good, and then we can see if it works well. So for example, if you're taking photos, a good photo for your need, if you're doing product photography, might be an item on a plain background, nicely focused and all sharp, and all the details are visible. So that's something that would be a great photo for product photography. If you're doing it for a website, for like eBay or something, or Amazon listing of an item. How about, does it look the best it can look? Does it look too fake? Does it look too good? Which is the opposite scale of things. We don't want anything looking like really great in the photo. When the customer gets it, they're like, wait a minute, this doesn't look like the photo. So you can't be going too fancy with photoshopping on there and readjusting it and modifying it and liquefying and all sorts. The main rule is if you get close enough to it, it will look good. That's product photography for you. However, in addition to that, do you really need a fancy camera? Questionable. You could get yourself a Canon M50 Mark II, which is like a nice entry option for you, which does everything really well. You've got options there for using it as a photo camera, video camera, as in recording video. You can live stream with it. It's got capabilities to allow you to change the lens on that camera, so that can work quite well if you're thinking about using it to get interesting photographs. So to make a great photo, we'll start with a number of things. We look at product photography, we look at a couple of items and show you examples of what isn't great and what would be better. And then we look at outdoor photography, as in if you're going and doing some type of holiday event, what could be good there. We look at little tips and tricks around using a camera handheld and what you can do to make it look a bit more interesting, we'll say, your photo. So what we'll do, let's have a quick look at a couple of items. I'll describe them for the podcast listeners. So right now I've got an item here which is a product photo of a watch. Right about now it's actually not very good because it's out of focus. So what that means is it's not going to be nice and clear. It's going to be a little bit out of focus. Let me zoom in. See that there? Roly poly roly. You can see that it's not in focus. So why is that? So the 2 and the 1 on the clock of the watch looks more in focus than the rest of the watch. So this is going to be depth of field. So if, for example, it's further away from the camera lens and the camera has a plane focus which is straight, plane of focus, anything beyond that point is going to be blurry, which is where we need to play with our camera aperture placement, hand movements, because if you're hand holding it and it moves about, that's going to cause you focusing issues. So that is not a great photograph. We'll have a look at another one which is an opposite option. So this is more flat, so it's straight to the camera, but it's a bit darker. So in essence, you could edit it and fix it in Lightroom. You can add a bit of it, but we want to get it in camera right. So in this example, we got the right exposure in terms of we know it's going to be sharp, but it's too dark. What do we do? That's when you need to add light into the situation. So flash would make it a lot better. So that from I've got one picture of the watch which is too blurry. When I'm saying too blurry, when you zoom in, you'll see how blurry it is. The second one we've got, it's not blurry, however it's too dark, which means this shoot, by the way, I did that as a live shoot on YouTube or Reddit, one of the two, so I'll probably dig that out at some point and tell you where the episode link is. But we did a live shoot along of the product and we moved it around, and then we added some more light, which made the watch probably too shiny, and it's on a slight slant, so the plane of field changed. So that wasn't great. But then we played with adding different lenses. So we used a 100mm macro lens, and then we looked at trying to get a bit wider to see how that affects it, and we kind of tilted the watch away from the camera, so that didn't help us. So the main thing here is you're going to take photographs and decide on what would be the success of using the camera in a way that gets you a good photograph. So you're basically taking a number of photos until you find the sweet spot, and then you'll know what the lens performs at in those light conditions and what the flash performs at. So you have to compensate for that if you don't have a studio. And that means, let's have a look over here, there and there. Okay, so I'm going to carry on with this and show you how it progressed. So from that, it was placed on its side. We did a few additional shots with it. We carried on playing with it in like a few different variants to see what would make a great photo. None of them were excellent, but we got a decent shot, which is a bit more of like an artistic type shot. But you can see there, it's a lot of, a lot of blemishes on the glass of the watch. So if you have a brand new watch, then it's fine, but if it's not a brand new watch and you're using it, there will be blemishes. So advertisement worthy, no, but a good Instagram post maybe. So like you can see there, it's like with a few additional, we're using a rule of kind of threes, which is another thing that helps with great photos. Then we added in a Swiss Army knife, and then we kind of moved away from the standard, but that got us a little bit better. But the amount of bouncing we had to do, because the watch was a chrome watch, silver watch, there's like certain spots that weren't coming up nice. We had to put in fill lights to fill it in. So again, these are like just shots to give you an idea of product placement. So what makes a great photo? Well, nothing really, more of practicing, trying different things, seeing what works and how you can make it look a lot better. So let's have a look at some other examples. What else have we got here? We progressed that onto additional shoots where we looked at trying to get it as sharp as possible. So what do you do to get it as sharp as possible? Well, you need loads of light, you need a high f number aperture, which allows more detail to be shown in the photograph with less blurring, and that was a f4 and 70mm. We did a watch photograph which looked a little bit more interesting. We added some other elements in there, but then we looked at how the depth of field affects these as we move them. We looked at light and how it bounces off the watches, which kind of makes it interesting. So all of these little tips and tricks are getting loads of photographs with different fields and trying to make it work for you. So I'm giving an example here as product item. I'm going to go through a few of these, and then it's like nothing really great here. This is all like examples. So again, how to take great photos is going to be use the light in creative ways, bounce it off things, make the light source as big as possible, as well as play with the placement of the items, and then that will get you closer to getting a decent photo. But then what about if you're doing something different? What about if we're looking at like photos for portraits? I may have some. Let me see if I can bring up a catalog that I can show. Well, not portraits, but I can show you a couple of items that we did. Okay, that might be, well, yeah, that's probably safe enough to show you. So let's go. I've got another item here, more of like a portrait type situation of a bag being held, and you can see how the bag has been focused as the main product, so the writing is nice and clear to read the brand, but the person holding it isn't as sharp and the background is nice and blurry. This is the raw file that I'm looking at, so nothing's been done to this. So you can see that there, it's got a nice veneer, green bush background with the person standing in front holding a bag. So that's like a more of a portrait option. How would you make that better? If it's a product, concentrate on the product. If it's not the product, concentrate on the eyes of the subject, and that will help you get a better photo and a sharper photo. So that's some techniques around shooting with people. Try to avoid harsh light. So if it's in a sunny location, you don't want that. Try and get to the shade. If it's shady, you can evenly expose. Let's see if it gets better. We've got another one there, another one there, and then we've got a few other items which were again concentrating on the bag and not the person as much. So you'll see how that kind of makes it a bit more advert type shooting. And then what else? Let me have a look at a few more to give you an idea. Okay, so if I was holding a full-on case, I was holding a Pelican case there, and you can see all the writing is readable on there. It's nice and sharp, and the person holding it behind is underexposed, but we could technically pull that back slightly in like, you know, what's the word, exposure. In addition to that, let's carry on, see if I can get you a few more examples. I'm going through a Lightroom catalog basically and showing you these, or explaining them to you. Okay, how about if you got a dark subject? So for example, if you have Max, and I'm looking at a dog photograph here now. He's a dark dog on light background, so the detail is all there. However, what about if it's underexposed? See that? So that's not making a great photograph now. That's the opposite scale of things. We're basically saying that photo could be epic with a bit of adjustment, which I could technically do right about now. But let me show you a few more items. That's a bit blurry because he was moving while the photo was taken. So in theory there, the shutter speed needed to be higher, so then it would not be blurry. So that would have made a great shot. Higher shutter speed. That there, still not pin sharp. You can see his eye. Let's find an example of a nice pin sharp photograph, probably here. So you can see that there. That's like getting closer to the look we want. But remember, because it's darker, the background slightly overexposed, so it's more bright than we would like it to be. We're going to carry on and find the perfect one. I have got a few more here. So what makes a great photo? It's all objectional. What is great? What is great is the question. That looks like more of an Instagram mobile phone shot with a Sophia type effect, but that's the sun. And let's have a look at some more. Basically a few portraits of Max. Okay, here we go. There, nice side profile, and looking away, looking there. It's got all the colors. So really, the colors are gonna make it nice for you. So if you're unsure about the colors, make sure you've got the true. Oh, there, that's a nice one. So that's like fully sharp to the point where you can see on his nose he had a bit of white fluff. So that's a lot better. So what makes a great photo? If it's a pet photo, basically exposing him correctly helps a lot. And that was taken with, let me bring up the T24. Now it's 100 mil. So that would have been, bam. So that gives you an idea. But as you progress, you can see that is nice. Now you can see the sharpness in his eyes, in his teeth, and it kind of gives you an idea of how he's got like the Batman symbol on the front as well. Batman, bat dog there. So it's like a nice example to give you an idea of how to get that right shot. Let's carry on. There you go. That's the shots, the money shots there. Nicely relaxed, chilling, playing some b-ball, and carrying on. That there, we basically went really low down with the grass to try and show that the out of focus sections. So because the grass was in the way, it counteracted the autofocusing. Let's zoom that one out. So then to correct that, that's the correct version of that. To see how that slight movement a little bit higher got us where we wanted to be. Beautiful, sharp, panting, ideally, if he was looking directly at us, that would have been like cherry in the cake. I mean, at 2.8, ISO 100, and 100 millimeters. So solid performer. And then just as he was getting up, as he saw, you'll see that we got him mid getting up. So that was him trying to get up and go away. So that's another dog. And let's see if we get any more nice options here. Okay, we've got a few more in a different scenario. So what we're basically saying here is, will the light help us? Can we bounce the light back in? Is the basic option. Or will it have to be... Yep. So I think that's like a nice look at a few options there where we can say they work well because your lighting situation is going to be very important. Let's bring our favorite one back up. I might make it my wallpaper. I think that's my favorite so far. What do you think? That is the favorite so far. So that would work very extremely beneficially well. So if you're thinking about getting someone a gift, wham, son, that's what you want to be getting them, because that will allow them to take loads of photographs, improve their skills, and get even better and better and better. You know, it's one of those things. You can even use the Sony Alphas. They do great photos as well for mixture of photography. So what we might do is, shall we go a little bit onto this and edit this up a bit? Let me go and edit it up a bit. I'm going to bring that up on screen. We go into full screen mode. Let's go. Okay, I'm just going to bring it up so we can go and full on edit it now. Okay, so we'll go back into it now. So what we're saying is, firstly we want a little teensy weensy bit of more exposure on there, make it a little bit brighter, a bit of clarity, a little bit teensy weensy, a little bit more, a little bit of vibrance, and that's I'm not feeling it. Let's call it. Oh, there we go. Okay, 1 minute. Hold up. See, the eye is not fully. Now everything else, you'll notice when you start messing with darks and whites, the rest of it won't be as nice. So what we can do here is get this and just whack it out. See what autotone does. See, autotone compensates for the background, making him not as. So let me open it up in the actual editor, because the editor will work better. We'll go to develop. It's loading it in. It's running a bit slow today for some reason. Okay, that's better. Okay, that's what I'm used to. Now we're talking. Now we're walking. 2 and 6 and bam. Okay, so first up, we're gonna work the magic as we would always do. Let's get some space going on here. Okay, so first up, I would probably okay, so not bad. Let's whack it down a touch, a bit more clarity, a bit of saturation. Okay, we're getting there. Bam. I think we be there. Close. Okay, so now when we make those adjustments, we're basically bringing out too much, which we can then knock back by we're trying to add a bit more. See that the eye is not tack sharp. We want it like full on sharp, almost to the point that it looks like it's not really. Let's go back here. Let's bring the exposure down slightly there, close that and go. Okay, that bee is a little bit washed out, so let's go. Okay, that's more better. And then making more. Hey, look at that. Spring summer fall. Okay, so we're basically adjusting in the settings to see how it impacts the overall image, and then we can do, look at that, you see that, what we were before and after. So now we can easily see we've brought a bit more detail back in the eyes, we brought it a bit more light just to give us a nice option. So this is where if you're shooting with a nice camera and you're shooting in raw format, you can go in and make additional changes that bring the image out, and this could be printed out very large. It's not like a mobile phone where it starts getting pixelated and stuff. So I'm liking that so far, but I think we can go a little bit extreme with it. We can go a little bit jokey with it and make it like, let's get rid of some magentas. So on the left is before and the right is after. MC, yes, that bees Max, my dog. We've taken some shoots of him and I'm just showing what can make a nice photo even better. So it's fairly dark and we've brought some light back into him. So that's one image. We've got a few more that we're looking at today. He's 2 years old now, Max Labsky. He's on Instagram, by the way. You can see him on Instagram. This guy's own profile is a celebrity. So you can see here, we're slowly getting it back. But you know what? We'll go to the earlier picture and we'll have a look at the earlier picture because that's another one to look at. So let's go library. Let's go. Which was the one? That one. Let's go. Bam. Let's go. Bam. Okay, so that's the earlier one. Let's do a similar thing there where we can bring some detail back. So firstly, it's a bit of a jaunty angle. So first up, let's go develop. Let's go wham. Let's go bam. Let's expose for the background. put a bit of recovery in, a little bit of fill light, a little bit dark there. Let's give it a touch of clarity, and then let's go in with the beauty. Yeah, in some bits it's too dark, so we don't have much detail to bring back out, but in the bits that we can, we shot raw, so we've got enough there. I want the main bits, so let's go just to give a bit of sense of. Oh, thank you, MC, appreciate it. He's still growing. He's a great dog. Bam. Okay, so let's go. Bam. Makes a great model. He sits there and he doesn't say anything to you. Hey. Let's go half shade. Let's go bam. Bam. Ram in the nose. And just a little bit on the chin. We're going to recalibrate this as we go through it. So rack. Hopefully it's not a HD stream, but hopefully some of this comes through that, because obviously you're probably watching this in 720p, which you can't really see all the subtle changes, but rock that up a tiny bit. Oh, too much. Bam there. A bit of brightness, a little bit more clarity, and then let's put that away and let's go out. And now it looks a little bit I'm not sure, because he's already got multiple colors in him, so he's actually got like lines of additional colors. So you can see his like undercoat is lighter than his overcoat, so it's a tricky subject, but knock it down a bit and a bit of fill. Let's do a Y. Okay, there we go. So it depends how well this shows on the screen. There's subtle differences, but we've brought out some additional detail that was not there in the darks. And overall you can tell, actually maybe, you know what, maybe darker looked better, because there it's darker, but on our version we've brought out the colors that were there, so that gives you more of how good the camera is at capturing data that you can bring back later. So technically on the left hand side you can't really see it, that there's additional colors there. When you add it in, you can see his undercoat, which is his true colors, so it's not actually all black, he's like a mixture. So that's what makes great photos, being able to bring that back. So yes, that is another one. So I reckon that wasn't too bad. We had a nice little session there of cameras and what makes a great photo. Hopefully that helped you. I'm gonna call it a day and see you on the next live stream. And as always, I appreciate the regular listeners on the podcast. If you can take some time out, it would be appreciated to leave a review on the App Store for the podcast. And I'll see you on the next podcast. Thank you, and see you next time, or hear me from again.